Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Court Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting to my third and final Creepy Diaries video for you guys. And this was titled Three Disturbing True Summer Camp Horror Stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
I never thought summer camp could turn into a nightmare. It started as a typical sunny day, kids laughing and running around, counselors organizing activities, and the smell of grilled burgers wafting through the air. Little did we know by nightfall, our camp would be plunged into chaos.
Oh, they're lucky because I went to a summer camp program that was being held at one of our local parks, but we never had any hamburgers or other type of sandwich cookouts. We had to bring our own lunches in our lunch bags, and then towards the end of the day we go on the playground until our families pick us up. But anyway, let's continue with this person's story and see what happens.
It was during dinner that things began to go awry. The first sign was a camper named Jake. He suddenly clutched his stomach and collapsed, vomiting violently. At first, we thought it was just a bug, or maybe he had eaten something that didn't agree with him. But then it started happening to more campers, and even some of the staff. By midnight, the infirmary was overflowing. "What's happening?" I asked the camp nurse, who looked pale and overwhelmed. "I don't know," she replied, shaking her head. "It looks like severe food poisoning, but I've never seen so many people get sick so quickly."
Oh my lord. I hate to imagine it, but somebody probably might have tampered with the hamburger meat with some sort of food poison that'll make everybody have a stomach ache and start vomiting uncontrollably. But I'm not surprised he ain't having no illness unless it was just a certain batch, I guess. But man, I hope they have enough medicine to treat everybody. Because if not, some people are going to have to be rushed to a hospital quick.
The camp director, Mr. Thompson, called an emergency meeting. His face was grim. "We need to figure out what's going on," he said. "I've already contacted the local health department. They'll be here first thing in the morning." That night was the longest of my life. The sounds of retching echoed through the cabins, and the air was thick with fear. I kept asking myself, how could this happen? How could so many people fall ill so quickly? The next morning, the health inspectors arrived and immediately began their investigation. They interviewed the kitchen staff, examined the food supplies, and took samples. As the hours dragged on, the atmosphere at camp grew tenser. Whispers of suspicion spread like wildfire. Who was responsible? How had this happened? By afternoon, the inspectors had some preliminary results. They called another meeting, and Mr. Thompson delivered the news. The initial findings indicate that the food was contaminated with a rare and dangerous substance, he said, his voice shaking. "We don't know how it got there, but we do know it wasn't an accident."
I knew it. It had to have been somebody working in the camp staff that probably tampered with the food. So if they continue their search, they might be able to find the culprit. But man, I know the atmosphere will be stressful if you see a bunch of health officials walking around doing a lot of lab tests and wearing hazmat suits just so they can figure out what's causing everybody to be sick. Kind of like if a plague was in effect.
Someone tampered with our food. A collective gasp rippled through the room. I felt a chill run down my spine. Someone had done this intentionally, but why? Who would want to hurt us? The inspectors continued their investigation, digging into the camp's food supplier. They discovered that the supplier had a history of health violations, but that wasn't the most disturbing part. As they delved deeper, They found that the specific substance used in the poisoning wasn't something you'd find in a normal kitchen. It was something much more sinister, something that required knowledge and access. Questions buzzed in my mind. Was it one of the campers? A counselor? Could it be someone I knew? I looked around at the faces of my friends and colleagues, searching for any signs of guilt or deceit. Everyone seemed on edge, casting wary glances at each other. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced with theories and suspicions. Who would do this? And why? The camp that had once been filled with laughter and fun was now shrouded in fear and mistrust. The next day, the inspectors made a shocking discovery. They found evidence that pointed to a counselor named Mark. He had recently been fired from another camp for misconduct, but had managed to get a job at our camp by falsifying his references. When confronted, Mark denied everything, but the evidence was damning. Traces of the substance were found in his cabin, hidden among his belongings. Why did he do it? When the police took him away, Mark finally broke down. He confessed that he had done it out of revenge. He blamed the camp system for ruining his life and wanted to make them pay. As Mark was led away in handcuffs, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How could someone do something so cruel? The camp slowly returned to normal, but the memory of that night lingered. The bonds of trust that had been broken would take a long time to heal. Summer camp would never be the same again.
Oh, you got that right, because then if you found out that if it was a camp worker that poisoned everybody, it would be hard to trust any other one. But blaming the camp system for mistreating him and going the extra mile and poisoning everybody is not okay, dude. But I know now he ain't going to get no job in no camp anymore after this incident, since he falsified his records from the previous one he worked at and literally making everybody sick from the food they ate. Unbelievable. But anyway, that is just one sorry dude that I would want to knock down to the ground for his stupid actions. But thankfully, they found out who did it and why, and they put him in handcuffs and took him away. And hopefully they could get the right medicine for all the staff and campers that were sick, so they could feel better and go home. That is really disturbing to hear somebody poison people at a camp. That's just sorry.
Why do summer camps always have those creepy stories? You know, the ones the counselors tell to freak out the younger kids. At our Christian summer camp in Pennsylvania, the counselors had a ghost story they loved to share. But what happened to us was different. Much different. It was around 2015, and we had this one night where instead of staying in our usual cabins, we camped outdoors in tents. Just 3 small tents around a campfire. During the day, everything seemed normal. We made s'mores and burrito things over the fire. As the sun began to set, I glanced down into the valley below us, where a cornfield stretched out.
You know, that's usually the case at some camps. They always like to tell spooky ghost stories. Some of them are true, and some of them just probably made up just to scare the campers half to death. But also, that's one thing I like to do around a campfire is roast s'mores. But I don't think I never even tried a burrito over a campfire, so that would taste good for sure.
That's when I saw it. Do you see that? I asked my friend Jake, pointing down the hill. See what? He replied, squinting. Down in the cornfield, there was a tall black figure, as tall as the cornstalks. No distinct features, just a dark silhouette. Probably just a scarecrow, I thought, though it didn't look like any scarecrow I'd ever seen. Night fell, and we sat around the campfire, chatting about random stuff. Our 3 tents were set up in a semicircle. Mine was in the middle, and I shared it with some of the normie nerds, as we jokingly called ourselves. We were the ones who avoided trouble, and stuck to the rules.
Sounds like the people I'd hang out with for sure. I don't want to hang out with those idiotic teenagers that want to break the rules and get in a lot of trouble. But also, I would like to point out something here. If you saw that cornfield during the daytime and there wasn't nothing there, and then now you see a black figure standing in it, that ain't no scarecrow, because you would have sawn it on a post. So this is probably one tall dude that snuck in to the camp through the cornfield, and he's hiding there until everybody went to sleep. But I do not know what this guy's intentions is. So let's just listen to the rest of the story and find out, shall we?
As the night deepened, we crawled into our tents. I slept okay, considering it was a tent on flat ground. But the next morning was strange. The kids in the tent to the left of mine looked exhausted, dark circles under their eyes, and they were unusually quiet. "What happened to you guys?" I asked, genuinely curious. "You wouldn't believe it," Mark said, his voice shaky. "Last night something was scratching our tent." "What? Are you serious?" I couldn't help but laugh a little, thinking it was another camp prank. "No joke," he insisted. "We were too scared to even move. Ryan had to pee in a water bottle because we didn't dare go outside." "Scratches on the tent? Could it have been an animal?" "Did you see anything?" "No, just the sound. But look." Mark pointed at the tent. Sure enough, there were long scratch marks on the fabric. "Probably a deer," one of the counselors said dismissively when we reported it. But those marks didn't look like anything a deer could make. The next night, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. What if whatever had scratched their tent came back? As we settled down, I found myself staring out at the cornfield. Was the figure still there? Then, in the middle of the night, I heard it. A faint scratching sound. Not on our tent, but close. Too close. "Did you hear that?" I whispered to my tent mates. "Hear what?" One of them mumbled sleepily. I held my breath, listening. The sound moved, circling the tents. My heart pounded in my chest. "Is it coming for us?" Morning came, and we found similar scratch marks on the other tent. The counselors continued to brush it off, but I wasn't convinced. What was out there? And why was it targeting us? Before we left the camp, I looked back at the cornfield. The figure was gone, but the sense of dread lingered. What had we encountered that night? Was it something explainable, or something far more sinister? As we packed up, Jake nudged me. "You think we'll ever know what it was?" "I don't know," I replied, shivering despite the warm morning sun. "But I don't think I want to find out. What do you think? Would you have wanted to know what was out there? Or would you rather live with the mystery?"
I mean, sure, I would like to know what was out there, but I'll be scared to find out if it was like a crazy-minded individual that came into the camp and just started scratching up tents and on trees and stuff. Or it might be some sort of ghostly entity that's able to scratch stuff. I don't know. I'll be even scared to even open up the tent to find out. But I'm glad they just packed up and got out of there before they even figured out who or what was causing all that noises outside. So let's get to story number 3 and finish out this video, shall we?
When I signed up for summer camp, I expected fun, adventure, and making new friends. The first few days were just that: canoeing, hiking, and campfire stories. Then, I met Kyle. He seemed nice enough at first, but there was something about him that felt off. Have you ever met someone who made you uneasy, even though they were friendly? Kyle and I ended up sharing a cabin for the week. The camp rotated us through different cabins every week to help us meet more people. One night, after a particularly exhausting 5-kilometer hike, everyone crashed early. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I was out like a light. But then it happened. I woke up to a strange noise, like someone moving around in the dark. Why was I on the floor? My body felt heavy, and I realized I couldn't move my arms or legs. Duct tape bound my wrists and ankles, and I had a sock stuffed in my mouth. Panic surged through me. Who did this? Why? Then I saw Kyle. He approached me, his face twisted in an unsettling smile. He knelt beside me and started running his hand down my body. It wasn't until he reached my feet that I noticed something odd. I had gone to bed with socks on, but now one of them was missing. The sock in my mouth. It was mine. What about the other one? Kyle held it up, inhaling deeply before licking it. My stomach churned in disgust.
Oh, yeah, mine will be turning in disgust too. Oh, seems like you got paired with a creepy pedophile dude. Ugh. Oh, man, that's one thing you do not want to wake up to while in a cabin, in a camp.
What was he doing? His eyes met mine, and he started tickling my feet. Bound and gagged, I couldn't move or scream. The sensation was unbearable, a sickening mix of pain and helplessness. For what felt like hours, he continued his torment, taking pleasure in my silent suffering. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, he pulled out something shiny, a small vial. He waved it in front of my face, and then everything went black. When I came to, I was back in my bed, the room quiet and still. Had it all been a nightmare? My wrists and ankles were sore, and my mouth tasted of sweat and fabric. No, it was real. I never told anyone. Who would believe me? Kyle acted perfectly normal the next day, as if nothing had happened. Was he playing some sick game? Would he do it again? That summer camp changed me. I learned that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones in ghost stories. They're the ones standing right beside you, wearing a friendly smile.
Man, I wouldn't stay silent about it. I would have gone to the camp counselors, and if they don't do anything about it, tell the parents. Because they will get after him for not believing you. If Kyle acts so innocent, like nothing happened, I'll call him out right there being a liar. That is just disgusting that somebody would do that to another campmate in a cabin. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more Creepy Diaries content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Core channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and I said that's a wrap, and that's day on.